The story of Frank Lee is one of the most somber and sobering in Mifflin County criminal history. It is a tale of violent outburst, a debated mental state, and a public spectacle that marked the final time that a life was taken in the name of the law in Mifflin County. Wherever you're at, wherever you're watching, whether you're on your couch, on the TV, your phone, computer, tablet, game system, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate you watching me and taking the time out of your day. Now, Frank Lee was a black man originally from Virginia who lived in Lewistown. He was a partner in a horse and cart hauling business with a local storekeep named George Porter. On November 24th, 1908, a heated argument broke out between the two men over money and the division of their business. Witnesses at the time reported that Lee was visibly enraged at the point of declaring that he would take his revenge regardless of the threat of the gallows. Later that evening, Lee lived up to his promise. Here on 3rd Street, Lee walked into Porter's shop and shot him dead, after which Lee fled and led authorities on a manhunt that lasted a month, eventually ending in his capture in his native Virginia, where he was born. The sheriff and the local constabulary brought him back to Lewistown to face trial. The trial began in May 1909 right here at the Historic Mifflin County Courthouse. It was a high-stakes case that captivated the town. The defense was Lee's lawyers arguing that he was not of sound mind. They presented the evidence that he had suffered 3 separate head injuries during his life, which witnesses claimed left him with a wild look and an unpredictable behavior. Jury wasn't convinced or moved by the insanity plea. After deliberating for less than 4 hours, they found him guilty of first-degree murder. Now, Lee had a second chance when the Pennsylvania Supreme Court got involved. They ordered a retrial after overturning the first verdict. As a result, there was a second trial in 1910. But unfortunately for Lee, the results were the same. Lee was ordered death by hanging. executions at the time were technically private, but in practice, they were local events, spectacles, if you will. While awaiting his death at the Mifflin County Jail, right here on these grounds, Lee became a deeply religious figure. He spent time praying and listening to a friend, Horace Tyler, read Pilgrim's Progress. Lee was reportedly illiterate. Temporary wooden gallows was built in the courtyard of the jail on these grounds. Out of hundreds of applicants, only 100 people were given official passes to watch. At 10 a.m., Lee walked the final 11 steps of his life to the platform. His final words were an expression of gratitude for the kindness shown him by Sheriff Samuel Boyer and the jail staff. The trap door was sprung and Lee pronounced dead a few minutes later. In a final, somewhat macabre twist, his body was briefly placed on display before being taken to burial. Lee's final resting place was here, somewhere in this place, Mount Rock Cemetery here in Lewistown. He's buried in an unmarked grave, which is common practice for those who were put to death through the criminal justice system at the time. It's unlikely that Lee's family, if he had any, would have had enough money to really bury him and even place a marker. In this old cemetery, Lee is buried. Nobody knows where. History doesn't really communicate that very well. There are plenty of markers without signs here. There's not much of a lesson to be learned here other than be careful who you get in business with. Be careful who you trust. For Porter, he picked the wrong man to double cross. For Lee, he let his worst impulses get the best of him. His belief in what he was owed overtook the belief in his worth of life. Porter likely believed he could take advantage of Lee being a poor black man in the middle of central Pennsylvania. And Lee likely felt that he could trust somebody that believed in the value of hard work and that he could get into business with this man. It was a decision that ended their lives. For Porter, unexpectedly murdered. For Lee, he ended up somewhere in here. His final judgment only to be determined by his Lord and Savior. That's going to do it for today. Dreams, grass, and churros. We'll see you tomorrow, where we celebrate the end of this week and look forward to the weekend.